Welcome this evening to our meeting of the Pyrenees Shire Council. Councillors today will deliberate and decide on a range of matters relevant to the work of Council and its communities for the welfare of the people of the Pyrenees Shire. As the meeting chair, I give my consent for this ordinary council meeting to be streamed live, recorded and published online. Anyone who is invited to read out a question or make a submission will be recorded, and their voice, image and comments will form part of that live stream and recording. The chair and/or the CEO have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming, and such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed appropriate, and that may include where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory or potentially inappropriate to be published. The live stream will stop prior to the closed section of the meeting and will recommence for the conclusion of the meeting. The public is able to view this live stream via our website at www.pyrenees.vic.gov.au. Should technical issues prevent the continuation of the live stream, the meeting will continue as long as a quorum can be maintained, and, where possible, a recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Where a quorum cannot be maintained, the meeting will be adjourned until the issue is resolved, or the meeting postponed to another time and date in accordance with Council's governance rules. I'll now move to acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the people, past and present, of the Wadawurrung, Dja Dja Wurrung, Eastern Maar and Wotjobaluk tribes, on whose land forms the Pyrenees Shire. We pay our respect to the customs, traditions and stewardship of the land by the elders and people of these tribes on whose land we meet today. We do have apologies from Ms Cathy Bramwell and Mr Jim Nolan this evening. I'll now move on to notice of disclosures of interest by councillors and officers. And Rebecca, Councillor Wardlaw, you put in one for the Terry Floyd Memorial. I also have an interest in the closed council item related to revised banking services. So thank you. Those are noted. I will now move to the confirmation of the previous minutes of the previous ordinary meeting of council held on the 17th of March and also the closed meeting of council held on the 17th of March. As previously circulated to all councillors, for these to be confirmed, may I ask a councillor to move that, make a recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Toll, and seconded Councillor Wardlaw. All those in favour? And that's carried. Moving to business arising, and I don't think there was any business arising, so we'll move now to public participation. So public participation, members of the community are encouraged to participate in public ordinary council meetings by asking questions or presenting a submission. This can be done by attending in person or by submitting in writing prior to noon on the day of the meeting, online or by mail or hand delivered. If a question or submission is submitted in writing, this will be read by the chair during public participation, stating the person's name and township. Question time will be held first, followed by public submissions. 30 minutes is allowed for the total period of public participation. Extensions may be allowed at the discretion of the chair. A person may ask a maximum of 2 questions at any meeting, and the chair will allocate a maximum of 5 minutes to each person who wishes to address council or ask questions. The chair, councillor or council officer to whom a question is referred may immediately answer the question or take the question on notice for answering at a later date. There will be no discussion or debate with public attendees. However, councillors may ask questions of the attendee for clarification. There have been 2 questions received. Our first question is from Mr David Jones of Avoca. His question is, I have a complaint and an issue. I am building a brand new modern architectural home on the Avoca River. I hope to move into my new home in 3 months' time. There is a gentleman living in a caravan 200 metres from my new house built on the Avoca River. He has been there for about 4 or 5 months on 3 separate occasions. He does not pay any rates, and also his grey water is going into the Avoca River. I am sick of looking at his dirty washing and clothes hanging outside his caravan and looking at his caravan and car. I would like the Pyrenees Shire councillors to help and resolve my issues. I might throw please to Mr. Doug Gowans to respond to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Where a member of the community raises an issue as a complaint, Council has a strict policy to ensure the complaint is independently reviewed. Council will refer your issue, Mr. Jones, to the Manager of Governance and Performance to further investigate. However, it is Council's understanding that you have had a number of interactions with Council's Community Safety and Amenity team regarding this issue, and Council is continuing to monitor the use of the river reserve for camping purposes. However, the jurisdiction allowance of camping is something the state government allows for, and in this location is managed by the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. However, Council is concerned about any grey water contamination in the Avoca River and will continue to undertake inspections to ensure this is not occurring.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans. I'd like to also read the next question from Ms. Erica Labunsky, also from Avoca. And her question, she has two questions. The first question is, can you please provide an update about the Avoca Recreation Reserve flood consultation and planning with particular reference to how impacts for residents near to the Avoca River? Thank you again, Mr. Gowans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Bansky, for your question and sharing your concerns. Council genuinely understands how important this issue is to you and others in the Avoca community. Council is currently in the final stages of the Avoca Rec Reserve Flood Mitigation Investigation Project and have held 2 community information sessions, the most recent being on the evening of the 12th of March this year. Council is grateful to everyone who has taken the time to attend and engage with us throughout this process. Council is aware of the specifics and concerns raised about the potential for mitigation actions to have adverse effects on individual properties. In recognition of this, Council met with the affected resident prior to the last community consultation to better understand their perspective and explore potential options. Since then, Council have remained in regular contact and have listened closely to their feedback. Council appreciates that uncertainty around the final recommendations can be unsettling. While the final report is not received from the consultants, Council expects it to be delivered in the coming weeks. Anecdotally, the consultants have indicated that if a mitigation option is likely to have a significant negative impact on a property and is not supported by the affected individual, it is unlikely that such an option would be recommended. Once the final investigation is complete, the recommendations will be presented to Council for consideration and endorsement. Council will continue to communicate openly with the community throughout this final stage and ensure all voices are heard. Thank you again for your patience and engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans, and we do thank Ms. Labunsky for her patience and engagement. Her second question is, though, can you please provide information about guidelines for how resident queries are responded to by Council staff? And in particular, is there an agreed timeframe within which communications need to be responded to? And are you aware, though, that some resident communications are not receiving a response? She's got that in brackets.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Labansky, for your secondary question. Council does have a customer charter that currently commits a response to a customer query within 15 days of receipt. Council is on a pathway of continual improvement in how residents' communications are responded to, and we will continue to remain in touch and continue to improve our communication efforts to residents.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans, and we're very committed to that, Ms. Labunsky, so we hope that we're able to meet those needs and continue to improve in that area. So thank you very much. That were our 2 questions. I will now open up to any questions direct from the gallery, if there are any, or comments. Mr. Davey first. Thank you, Mr. Trevor Davey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and hello, councillors and executives. I was wondering if council would consider to take a positive approach towards Anzac Day. On the website, finding the details on the Pyrenees website was truly like winning Tassollo. But this is the most important day on the calendar for Australians, and very serious day. It's about pride. It's about honour. It's about the things we grew up what we should do. So can someone consider next year having a tag banner? I mean, we put it on for rates. Hey, your rates are due, tag banner. We put all these crazy things on, but Anzac Day, I feel, is far more important. And the RSL do a lot of work. They fund it and they do all these sorts of things. And for that not to be on the website when everybody was looking, I had 30 odd calls myself to explain to people where it was.
Thank you, Mr.
So that'd be
David.
great.
That's a great suggestion, and it was on the Facebook, but again, the website, a lot of people go
A lot of
to the
people
website.
don't use social media, particularly me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. David. Well, and I think that's well received. I don't know whether you want to speak to that, but I think we'll respond to that.
We'll take that on as a comment to enact.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Mrs. Douglas answered over the weekend, which was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Gowns, for
Very
doing
good
that over the weekend. Yeah, thank you. Mr. George Kirsanos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question refers to the recent construction of Livingston Street, which, as far as I can see, was an excellent result. My question relates to, is this an example of what the Shire has the capacity to do from start to finish? For example, does it have the capacity to draw up specifications within the staff of the Shire, as well as the implementation of that? That would be very good to know, because if that is the case, then maybe we could rely on the Shire being able to do more jobs. Clearly, the employees are in the Shire, so labour costs should be down from the project. It should be a saving overall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A great comment that I will throw over to Mr. Gowans, because I think that's a great point made.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Kirsanos, for your observations and question regarding the recent successful completion of the Livingston Street upgrade. It's worth noting that that project was able to be delivered through funding from the federal government that was allocated through the local roads and infrastructure program. This is really important funding when, as you can see by the result of that particular project, you can get some really great outcomes for the community in terms of urban street outcomes, and that program's actually delivered a whole range of outcomes across the Shire, including a whole range of infrastructure projects. It's also excellent that you've acknowledged, Mr. Kirsanos, that the council does have the capacity within its engineering teams to design, manage and build such projects. We do rely on contractors for certain elements of projects like that, including the ceiling elements. However, the majority of the construction was done in-house. And we have put an effort in to try to build the skills and expertise within our teams to be able to deliver such projects. The thing that probably we need and rely on is more federal and state money to deliver such projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was well stated too. It is always a challenge, but that's just lovely feedback. So thank you, Mr. Kirsanos. And thank you to the team who were behind that, Mr. Gowans, if we can pass that on, because that's incredible. So any other questions on that before I move on, or comments? No? I will now move on to item 9. We move into items for noting now. I'll move into 9.1.1, which is the road management plan review process. I will take that as read and just have a councillor please happy to move that recommendation for that report. Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Seconded, Councillor Phelan. All those in favour? Thank you. That'll bring us to 9.1.2, which is the planning and development update for April 2025. Some important figures in there. And may I have a councillor move that one? And thank you, Councillor Phelan, and seconded, Councillor Toll. All those in favour? And that's carried. We also have the councillor activity reports. It's been quite busy for many councillors over the past month. May I have a councillor move that report? Thank you, Councillor Wardlaw. Seconded, Councillor Ferrari. All those in favour? And that is now moved. We have item 11.1, which is the Assembly of Councillors through March this year. May I have someone move that one as well? Thank you, Councillor Toll. Thank you, Councillor Phelan. All those in favour? We're able to scoot through those as they have been previously read, but we now move on to the items for decision. And our first one is item 12.1.1, which is the Economic Development Update. And I'd like to introduce and thank Mr. Shane Walden, who's been taking on that role for us as Acting Director of Corporate and Community Services, to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Officers continue to deliver on the Economic Development and Tourism Strategy 2020. Some of the key metrics that were noted within that report is council completing 91.8% of planning applications within the state's 60-day targets, one of only 3 of the 11 councils within the Grampians region to deliver over 90%, and comparing us favourably with like councils across the whole state of Victoria. Within that, the value of buildings that have approved have increased year on year, which is great. Our gross productivity in the region has increased by 6.54% last financial year, and in real terms, taking into consideration underlying growth, that's a 2.63% growth for the region, which is great. Not quite the same story in agriculture, where production dropped by 1% as a result of the neutral seasons and lower crop production. Locally, the region continues to feel the ongoing effects of the drought. The Economic Development Team is promoting the state government's support that's provided by Agriculture Victoria's Drought Support Program. The report provides details of the Economic Development Team's activities, including involvement in the recovery events and the drought resilience planning. The officer recommendation is on page 34 of tonight's agenda. It does include a recommendation to consider some funding as part of budget considerations. Just for clarity, that is not a confirmation of the budget. It is just that it will be included in considerations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. May I firstly ask for a councillor willing to move a motion to that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Phelan. And may I ask for a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wardlaw. And now let's move into discussion. There's a lot in that report.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Phelan. Would you like to speak first? Or?
The microphone working. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the report, Mr. Walden. So yes, lots in that, as we can see. I just wanted to pull out a couple of what is items from an extensive report. So digital connectivity plan is in there, and of course that's a really critical piece of infrastructure for the community. I know there's been really terrific input from the community to provide basically an understanding of where some of the real black spots are in low connectivity. So we're looking forward to seeing the results of the Visit by Telstra, that great initiative that they're actually driving around with council officers, but to see that input from community come to fruition and get some better connectivity will be fantastic. Really interested as well in the fire recovery and drought, the resilient agriculture report. I'll jump to first, and just any effort that can be made to support obviously the agricultural sector and farmers in the context of climate change, but also thinking about the different soil types and what some of the opportunities might be. I think, however council, the Shire office can facilitate, that will be greatly appreciated. Just one of the other areas I wanted to point out, which was in the, what's the name of it? In the events area, lots of support for initiatives like Visit Pyrenees, promoting what's on, winter programs, etc. It would be really good to see a very comprehensive approach to support for these events, noting that it is so much more than a marketing exercise. It means if people are visiting the Pyrenees, we need accommodation in the Pyrenees, we need connectivity, we need a a lot of basic infrastructure. So really keen to see all of those elements brought together as we promote tourism to the region. Thank you.
Well spoken, Councillor Phelan. I think covered a lot of those aspects in that report. Councillor Waddle, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to continue a little bit on from where Megan has spoken, and from a farming point of view, from agriculture, I really hope that we can see some of this pipeline come down this way, which will hopefully help us out in future, make us a bit more drought resilient. But I also would like to mention that in some of this work that we're doing going forward, we need to take in the human aspect as well. And I think we really need to look after the mental health of our farmers, if that can be taken into consideration, especially if we end up having the fire levy put on. We really need to look after the people in the community, because there will be some very stressed people out there. So, thank you.
Yeah, again, well spoken, Councillor Waddle, and second that. Councillor Ferrari or Toll, would you like to speak to that at all? I think it is, yeah, it's incredibly important too that and being able to support the capacity both financially but very much emotionally and mentally across that. I think, you know, a part of the report that I do urge the public to be able to read too is just to see what will happen in that next quarter. We've got the water pipeline, which a huge amount of work has gone in from council officers and many other people to make that happen. But we're hoping that will be the business case will be progressing and associated works to get it to a shovel-ready state. We're also the finalising a phase of the upgrade to the Beaufort Lake Caravan Park to be able to really get people into our region and understand how amazing it is. There will be commencing the Resilient Agri-Business Report, and Councillor Phelan spoke very strongly, as she has a number of times. It's so important to be able to help our farms and also help them diversify. We know that there's going to, we're just coming through a drought. Every time we see any rain in the sky, it's an absolute godsend. But if we can be more resilient and support our farmers, then it's only a good thing. We've got lots of other things like a dog project, mobile phone and internet survey. Again, Councillor Phelan had mentioned that. But winter tourism, marking cycle tourism in Beaufort and Avoca. Continue our amazing events, you know, like Lake Goldsmith Steam Rally that's coming up this weekend. Our exhibitions, you know, incredible things like our wine festival in Avoca held just a couple of weeks ago. Things like hosting a social media workshop, and then other ways that we can support farming and other business communities during these drought times. So this is just happening in the next quarter. So we're very excited about this, and we thank all the work and that's gone into everything that's now culminated in this report. So Councillor Phelan would like to speak.
Yes, apologies, Madam Mayor. I did fail to mention one other aspect as well. We're obviously all really excited about the prospect of the pipeline and know the great benefits that will bring to the region, particularly the northern part of the Shire. However, I do hope that council officers will also think about interim measures, noting that this may be 5, even 10 years away. And in fact, I heard, yes, as recently as today, that there may be some delays to that project. So we do need to also consider interim measures to ensure that there's adequate water supply for farmers, for grape growers and others in the community. Thank you.
Yeah, gosh, thanks. Councillor Phelan, we certainly need to take heed of that as well. We now have that motion to be voted upon. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you again. We now move on to item 12.2.1, and that's the planning permit application PA 23108 at 13 Canico Lane, Hillcrest. And I would now like to hand thanks to Mr. Douglas Gowans to speak to that report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to consider a planning permit application for the use of land for animal husbandry on land at 13 Canico Lane, Hillcrest. The permit applicant has owned the subject land since 2011. The permit applicant purchased the land to reside on the property, but also to use it for animal husbandry, as the site contained existing kennels and facilities associated with animal husbandry. The use of the land has been undertaken since 2011 as advertised by the planning permit application. In 2023, the planning and development team became aware of the property due to a complaint from an adjoining landowner. The complaint related to the discharge of effluent onto an adjoining property and had several amenity concerns associated with how the land was being used, including noise. Following the investigation, it was noted that the use of the land did not accord with the Pyrenees planning scheme, and therefore a planning permit was required to bring the site in compliance. The application was advertised early in 2024 and council received 4 objections. Council officers consider there is now enough information to decide on the application and be satisfied that the concerns and objections raised can be addressed. It is also noted that the permit application recently amended the application, permit applicant recently amended the application to reduce the number of dogs from 20 dogs to 10 dogs. There's a lot in the report, and I know council has made themselves very aware of the particular site. While the site has been utilised for animal boarding and keeping of kennels in the past, existing use rights cannot be established as there was insufficient information to determine this. The application primarily seeks approval to use the site for breeding and keeping. The application is accompanied by a site plan, a floor plan of the existing building to be used for breeding and animal keeping, a copy of the title and title plan, and a written description of existing and proposed business operations and management. As I stated earlier, council received 4 objections in response to advertising, and the key issues raised in the objections are related to amenity impacts, including the number of dogs to be kept on the site, the barking of dogs throughout the day and in the early hours of the morning, and concern for dog welfare. There was also issues related to on-site disposal of effluent, including potential impact upon the natural water course to the rear of the property, implications for surrounding landowners, including impact on water quality, and biosecurity risks for surrounding landowners with grazing operations. There were 2 other concerns raised. One was relating to fire prevention strategies, that the biosecurity risks around grazing would impact the potential to implement fire prevention strategies, including the grazing of stock with the surrounding bushland, and also issues with the behaviour that was put in the objections of the applicant. The proposal generally accords with the planning permit policy framework, including the municipal planning strategy of the Pyrenees planning scheme. And there's a whole range of issues that are detailed in the report relating to this. Council can seek to address any amenity impacts to be considered by the planning scheme through the appropriate operation of any land use, which can be managed via appropriate planning permit conditions to ensure the land use is compatible with surrounding land use and any amenity impacts can be minimised. In this case, a retrospective permit application is being considered to bring the use of the land into compliance with the Pyrenees planning scheme. Planning permit conditions provide the council with an enforcement mechanism to ensure that the site is appropriately used and managed, and that the amenity of the area is maintained to an acceptable level. And with all this in mind, it's the officer's recommendation that council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for the use of the land for animal husbandry, subject to conditions. And without going through each of the conditions, there's quite a lot in the report. The report does have a fair bit to say about amended plans requirements, noise control around noise limit and the assessment protocol. Some issues relating to the animal waste, also conditions around the maximum number of dogs to be kept, and general use conditions, and a whole range of other items that referral authorities have recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans, and that is all noted in the report, and councillors have had extensive discussions over this and being able to take in that information. So in light of that, to start our discussions this evening, may I ask a councillor to move a motion? Thank you. Councillor Ferrari, seconded Councillor Wardlaw. And I'd like to open up Councillor Ferrari. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that report, Mr. Gowans. I did note, or we have noted, there's a significant amount of conditions attached to this application. It's a two-part question. Firstly, are Pyrenees Council the only regulatory authority responsible for the management of those conditions? And is there a process where these conditions are monitored, including inspections if necessary? Is this a matter of course, or would it be by exception, such as a complaint?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillor, for your questions. The planning scheme is administered and the responsibility for a planning permit is the responsibility of council unless otherwise stated. Even though some of the permit conditions are requirements by referral authorities, council generally is the responsible authority to administer the conditions. However, the referral authorities can take it into their if they're aware of an issue, can bring it to council's attention. Getting to the second part of your question, Councillor Ferrari, in relation to when we would normally check on a permit, with a permit such as this, there's a number of triggers that might check that we check on it. So with animal keeping, there are requirements for regular inspections, and we often have our community safety and amenity officers involved in undertaking regular inspections of animal keeping facilities. Also, as people would be aware, the RSPCA from time to time do undertake their own inspections. Generally, when it comes to to planning permit conditions, generally it's only when there's an issue that gives council the mechanism to be able to enforce that issue. So generally that is if a complaint came in and there needs to be assessment about whether the veracity of that complaint is valid in terms of either meeting or not meeting the conditions of the planning permit.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Wardlaw, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, enough.
Thank you. Other councillors, would you like to speak on that? I think there has been lots of information received and lots of site visits and understanding. We always would take into consideration objections, and we also we have to take in a lot of angles. And I think a couple that did come out of that, the EPA issues, we know there was an issue with the effluent, but the landowner was able to deal with that very effectively, and that was ticked off by the EPA. There are a few other parts of that recommendation, noise control and also the impact on biodiversity. But again, the landowner has shown that they are very willing to do that and have put in a number of measures, and we've seen them ourselves to be able to limit that impact or totally cancel out that impact. There was something about behaviours of lights on at night time and things like that. But again, the landowner has assured that that won't happen. And so I think on that basis too, I think that's given councillors enough information to be able to decide on this permit. So in light of that, I ask all those in favour then of this of this motion that was put forward by Councillor Ferrari. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work that did go into that from many staff. Mr. Gowans, if you can pass that on. And also councillors in your time on that one as well. We're now up to item 12.2.2, and that is 26 Burke Street, Beaufort. This is a stage subdivision and construction of 2 or more dwellings on a lot. It will be 8 dwellings under clause 32.087 in GRZI. I don't know whether we need to mention all that, but I'm going to hand please to Mr. Doug Gowans again to speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just for the audience's benefit, GRZ 1 is General Residential Zone 1. So the purpose of this report is to consider a planning application for subdivision of land and construction of 2 or more dwellings on land at 26 Burke Street, Beaufort. Pyrenees Shire Council received a grant from Regional Development Victoria as part of the Regional Worker Accommodation Fund, and the grant funds for the construction relating to this particular application of the 8 dwellings and mandates the use of accommodation to accommodate workers in key industries for a set period of time. When this was advertised, one objection was received, and the objection concerned drainage, traffic, street lighting, footpaths and maintenance of properties. Just in relation to the site context, the southern boundary of the site borders Burke Street for a length of 240 metres, and the northern site boundary adjoins the Ararat railway corridor. The site is zoned general residential zone, and a land subject to inundation overlay affects the northeastern portion of the land. The application for a planning permit has 2 components, and the first is to subdivide into 8 lots and 2 super lots, and also the construction of the 8 dwellings. Works that form part of the subdivision include earthworks, construction of curb and channel, provision of footpath and street lighting, and planting of trees. All dwellings that are requested here are detached and single storey. And there's some information about the dwellings and what they will have in the body of the report. As stated earlier, one objection was received in response to notification relating to those issues that I raised earlier around drainage, the way heavy vehicles use Burke Street and other vehicles speeding, and the lack of street lights and footpaths, as well as how council would maintain the properties as they are for regional worker accommodation. The application demonstrates a high degree of consistency with the planning policy framework and the municipal planning strategy. And there's a whole heap of information in the report for council that I'll take as read. The matters raised in the objection have been considered throughout the assessment required by the planning scheme. And council is aware that properties on Burke Street currently experience flooding during heavy rain events. The subdivision and construction of 8 dwellings on the subject site will require the preparation of a drainage plan to demonstrate how stormwater from the proposal will be managed in accordance with the requirements of the planning scheme. Council's engineering department have assessed the initial drainage information provided and have formed the view that existing flooding or drainage will not be impacted by this proposal. The use of Burke Street by heavy vehicles and general driver behaviour matters beyond the scope of the planning scheme. However, council has been advocating on behalf of the community regarding these and other road safety issues and has secured funding for traffic calming measures for Burke Street, which is separate to this planning application. The applicant has submitted a revised plan provided to the objector showing the provision of public lighting and the footpath. And the dwellings have been suitably designed to be able to be maintained, and maintenance will be responsible of the owners and the occupiers. Therefore, it's the officer recommendation that council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for subdivision of land and construction of 2 or more dwellings on a lot, 8 dwellings in total, subject to a whole range of conditions that are there before council. And I won't go through each of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans. And yeah, there are a lot of subject to clauses there. But I think, yeah, gosh, I'll open that recommendation then that a planning permit be granted for a councillor to move a motion. Any councillor Phelan, seconded councillor Ferrari. Would you like to speak to the subdivision councillor?
Oh, well, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to note, of course, the importance of getting worker accommodation into the region and particularly areas like Beaufort, but also noting the very large number of conditions on that permit and the works that will actually take place to ensure this is a really positive and well thought through development. So the focus on reticulated services, stormwater management, and other really critical infrastructure. Yeah, perhaps it could set a bit of a template for some of the planning permits, particularly if council's taking a lead on a lot of these works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillor Phelan. Councillor Ferrari, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I echo Councillor Phelan's comments and just probably do note that with the Pyrenees Shire Council being the landholder, we're we're subject to the same rules, regulations and guidelines as anybody else. We have heard from the objectors in relation to this matter earlier on today, and I thank them for coming down and taking the time to address us, which is really good. It's always good to hear firsthand from people. It's a really good way. And I just want to assure them that the concerns have been heard and will be considered all throughout the project. So they have been heard and it will be considered all through the project.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Other councillors? No, happy? I think too, those issues of drainage and the vehicles moving through that area, also the maintenance, because it will be maybe short-term rentals. Thank you for speaking to those, Mr. Gowans, because I feel if we're able to address that, this is just such an exciting project, like an incredible option to use not only grant money for that worker accommodation, but to build and enhance a beautiful part of Beaufort and make it even more beautiful. So we thank all the work that's gone into making this happen. It's really, I think it's very exciting myself to be moving into this space. So in light of that, maybe put that motion to the vote. All those in favour, and that's carried. Very exciting. Now we move on to, sorry, I'm going through all the conditions on that permit. Item 12.2.3. Oh, and actually, sorry, before I move on to this one, gallery, you may move, you are able to leave if your item has already been dealt with. You are very more than welcome to stay though, please. I just thought I'd let people know because sometimes I don't know, you can move in and out if you need. But item 12.2.3, that's a drainage maintenance and renewal schedule item. And Mr. Doug Gowans, would you mind speaking to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide information to Council on the current maintenance and renewal schedule for roadside drainage and culverts. Council has responsibility for roadside drainage assets across 2,000 kilometres of road network. It's estimated that Council has approximately 6,000 minor culverts across this network. Roadside drainage also includes the table drains and drainage assets that take water off the road to ensure the road is trafficable even in wet conditions. Council has limitations on the extent of maintenance that can occur within a table drain and has specific requirements regarding protection of native roadside vegetation. Council has a regular condition inspection program of its major culverts, but all culverts are often impacted in natural disasters in either heavy rainfall or flooded creeks which transport rock, gravel, silt and vegetation debris and often require a high level response following a natural disaster. On average, in any given year, Council would also undertake either directly or through contractors maintenance on approximately 1,000 culverts. Council-specific stormwater drainage renewal budgets are listed in the report and are currently funded through the annual budget process. There are several types of drainage assets within the road reserve that Council does not have direct responsibility to inspect or maintain, including property stormwater drains. These are drains constructed within the road reserve that carry water from the property to an outlet in the curb or other roadside drain, and often referred to as a legal point of property discharge. The property driveway or crossover and associated culverts and in-wall structures are also the responsibility of the property owner. In terms of flood events, of the just over 1,000 sites where flood-related work or damage was identified following the 2022 floods, 92 sites either required culvert repairs due to flood damage or culvert cleaning and maintenance. Council currently has a roadside rural drainage budget of just under $300,000 and an urban drainage budget of just under $50,000. The management and maintenance of Council's roadside drainage and culvert network are critical to ensuring the functionality and longevity of road infrastructure. Consideration of increasing Council's drain budgets would allow for more comprehensive maintenance and facilitate a more effective approach, ensuring that drainage assets are better equipped to handle further demands and adverse weather conditions. Therefore, it's the officer recommendation that Council, 1, note this report, and 2, consider increasing its roadside drainage maintenance in future budgets as part of its budget deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Gowans. May I ask a councillor to move a motion? to that recommendation. Thank you, councillor Phelan. Another councillor second. Thank you, councillor Wardlaw. And we'll hand straight to you, councillor Phelan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, great to see this report come through. Thank you, Mr. Gowans. Probably before I came to Moonabel, I could say I was not familiar with the incredible importance of culverts. It's not something you think about much in inner city Melbourne, but having been out to some of the little townships, Redbank, Moonabel, just seeing the importance of having a really strong maintenance program and not only speaking of during times of flood, but noting that if culverts aren't maintained properly, the buildup of debris, as you've noted, can really impact then on just the movement of water. So really pleased to see this report. And also I note that we have been having discussions about increasing maintenance budgets for townships. So I think this sits very nicely with that. Thank you.
Again, what I said, councillor Phelan, I think it is again such an important part of our budget process, which we're also heavily under fire for to be able to get done now as well. Councillor Wardlaw, would you like to be able to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also completely support this and support finding more money to go towards it as well. I've previously spoken to Mr. Gowans about one out at Homebush that he's well aware of. That would be great to see some improvement on, just needs widening, but we can't do that without the funding. So yeah, thank you, keep up the good work.
Again, it's so indicative, so important. So thank you, councillor Wardlaw. Councillor Ferrari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly agree that it's a very important part of our works. Probably just a couple of questions for Mr. Gowans, and perhaps one at least might be on notice. Do we know what percentage of drainage work is carried out by contractors? And do we have the ability to undertake all this work apart from major culvert replacement in-house?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillor Ferrari, for your question. Yeah, look, I will need to take that on notice. It would only be a guess, but yeah, we definitely have some fantastic contractors in the Shire who do some drainage maintenance work for us and helping protect our assets. In fact, they may be in the gallery today helping assist council. But we also do quite a bit in-house, especially the maintenance work. It's the construction work that probably is something that would need quite a big look at in terms of how you develop a team that has the skill set to be able to do that work and keep them occupied with the supporting budgets, given the limitations on budgets that we currently have. So often with major culvert replacements, we're often, as stated earlier in the night, reliant on external funding. Yes, we do have some recurrent roads to recovery funding that we do use a portion of for drainage and bridge assets. However, it has been programs like the Local Roads and Infrastructure Program that have enabled us to do some of the condition replacement work on some of our major culverts, and there are contractors that are set up specifically to do that work. But yeah, absolutely something to consider about how we might expand the capacity of our internal workforce.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, and I thank you for reminding me about the current people in the room. And my intention is certainly not to cut any contractors out. It's just in our current economic climate, you know, it's so important for us to be very vigilant with how we spend our money and to get that really even balance. We need the contractors, but if we can do some stuff ourselves, we need to get that really, really good balance. So that's, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, valid, councillor Ferrari, that we're looking at all options to be able to be as prudent as we can with the budget that we've got, but get the works done that we want to. Councillor Tull.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cleaning out 1,000, I've had a little bit to do with culverts in my time. Cleaning out 1,000 culverts, it's equating to about 9 a week or 4 a day. Pretty good effort. We've got to make sure they're done properly because roads and all the other infrastructure gets damaged severely. I think you quote some figures down here, Mr. Gowans. of the damage after the floods. If they're not prepared early, that damage is only increased, leading to bigger budget blowouts. So fully support spending more and more money on keeping them clean. It's a bit like cleaning the gutters out on your house at home, isn't it? It's exactly the same. Just keep them clean, let the water flow, and we won't have any problems. So well done.
It was incredibly poignant coming from you, Councillor Toll, who knows your stuff there. So I think we can put that to the vote if there aren't any further comments or discussion on that. So all those in favour, and that's carried. Thank you all for that. We now move on to item 12.3.1, and that's the emergency recovery resilience activity that's happening in corporate and community services. And am I handing to you? Thank you, Mr. Walden. That would be excellent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, the Emergency Recovery Resilience Activity Report is provided as an ongoing update for Council and the community on the recovery activities arising from the October-November 2022 floods and the February 2024 fire events. The ongoing items in the recovery plans are listed in orange and will continue over some time. Council has provided direct support to the community and also worked closely with community in terms of the Emergency Recovery and Resilience Network that is meeting monthly, collaborating on long-term recovery and resilience building. The flood mitigation investigations in Avoca is progressing well and intended to be completed next year with flood mitigation options being provided. The community is holding events and gatherings, which is supporting social inclusion, which is so important in recovering from disaster events. The Mount Cole Pyrenees Nature Group is leading the way in helping native plants and animals recover. The Safer Together project has commenced and aims to build bushfire resilience through the development of a Firewise planting guide with display gardens and landscape workshops. In addition, staff are working with other agencies on long-term recovery and resilience building initiatives, and also continues to seek funding opportunities for the benefit of the community. Within the report is a financial snapshot detailing the financials for the 3 disaster events, including the 2023 storm event. And at the time of writing the report, there was $488,635 of unclaimed costs and a similar amount still awaiting assessment. The current methodology for disaster recovery funding is complex and labour intensive. Officers are lodging claims regularly and the review process does take some time. Council's current out-of-pocket expenses are $950,079 as at March this year. The officer recommendation is provided on page 79 of tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walden. And gosh, a lot of effort's been put into that, and we're very grateful for staff working through those difficult processing claims, etc. But I'll put that recommendation for a councillor to move a motion on that. Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Seconded, Councillor Wardwell. Councillor Ferrari, would you like to speak first?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge the amount of work that does go into these claims. It's significant, and you know, it's actually absolutely overburdening, and it's just not fair that the council has to do what they have to do to get some of the money, but in fact we left $950,000 short. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that the great work and the amount of work that's done by the officers under trying times, because there's you know, they're affected too, so it's really, really difficult. The other thing is, I do know personally, and I'm sure the other councillors would agree, that the frustration that the outdoor staff and the officers within the organisation have, that they're not provided that money in a timely manner to do the works that's needed. And we just simply can't afford, as a small rural shire, to fork that money out in advance, hoping we're going to get it back, because there's a big chance we won't. And it's a big risk to take when we just haven't got the money to support that. So it's a bit frustrating all round. We do want to get it done, but we need to wait for the money to come in. So great work by everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Well said. Councillor Wardlaw, would you like to speak to that?
Also, yeah, I'd just like to, I mean, I'm always advocating for the farmers, as you know, and it's just good to see that, you know, in the notable matters that, you know, they've noticed that the farmers are struggling. If it's not floods and fires, now it's drought. And it's just good to see that there are avenues of support out there through, well, for example, here, AgVic's drought support package. I think we need to get that out there. If people aren't aware, there may be some that aren't really aware that's there. So if we could just get a little bit of a push in that direction, because as we know, we don't know what's around the corner again, and it'd just be good to be a bit prepared, or at least a bit recovered, ready for the next onslaught. So thanks.
Thank you. Other councillors wanting to speak to that one? No, then agreed. I think it's, again, to thank all that's been going through. It's so important, and sometimes it can feel like it's happened in the past, but the impact often remains a lot longer, and that need to support our community to get through, that's vital. So again, we thank council officers for everything that they're doing, that we're not even seeing, but they're continuing to do to support people. So in light of that, I'll ask all those in favour, and that's carried. Thank you very much. We're now to item 12.3.2, and that's risk management. And again, we'll ask Mr. Shane Walden, thank you, to speak to that item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides council with the biannual report on risk management and seeks council adoption of the updated strategic risk register, risk management framework and plan, and the risk management policy. Identification and mitigation of unacceptable risks is an integral part of good management and governance. Council has 2 risk registers, a strategic risk register and an operational risk register. The way risks are identified, assessed and managed is provided for in the risk management framework and plan. The risk management policy provides and illustrates how risk management supports council's strategic and operational objectives on behalf of the community. Staff reviewed the risk based on a realistic likelihood and consequence. The updated register was provided to the Audit and Risk Committee for feedback in March. Some updates were influenced by emerging events such as the forthcoming federal election, technological change, requirements to manage psychosocial wellbeing and potential impacts of the new single interest enterprise agreements, and what this might mean for the Pyrenees Shire. The Audit and Risk Committee also asked for an additional risk to be noted around the council-led current housing development projects, and this is included in the register presented tonight. If council adopts a risk management framework and plan tonight, the next steps is for council to determine a risk appetite. A risk appetite needs to balance the protection against the hazards or harm occurring with the opportunities that might come from not being too restrictive. A list of amendments to the documents are provided on page 82 and continue on page 83 of tonight's agenda. The officer recommendation is provided on page 84 of the agenda tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. I'll open that up, please, to a councillor happy to move a motion to that recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Toll. Seconded by Councillor Phelan. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Toll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Risk's one of the greatest things we face in life every day. And as an organisation, we cannot be scared of it. We've got to embrace it, all right, mitigate it and work it out, but we can't sit back all the time and just not accept any risk. We've got to take it on board, mitigate the problems, and otherwise, what's the old saying? No risk, no reward. So thank you. Thank you for all the work that's gone into it with the Risk and Audit Committee too.
Yeah, great. So we've got this document now. Councillor Phelan to be able to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks also for the great amount of work that's gone into this. My comment was along a similar vein to Councillor Toll's. I appreciate, of course, the need for risk management frameworks, risk registers, risk management policies, but I am keen to hear how this is balanced with the opportunity cost, and I mean part of that might come through the risk appetite register that's coming, or statement that's coming. But yeah, really important that we also keep an eye on what the opportunity is and balancing that against risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phelan. That's well said too. Other councillors would like to speak to that. No, I think it is it's a mandatory thing, but it's not something we want to hold us back. We want to be able to look at the opportunity through that. This this is a process to be able to scaffold what we're doing, but to not prevent development, or movement. So that point's definitely acknowledged. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's all carried. Thank you. Item 12.3.3 is the Audit and Risk Committee update. And again, I'll hand to Mr. Shane Walden. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report provided updates, Council, on the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 25th of March 2025. The minutes of the committee meeting are included in the attachments of tonight's agenda. I note that on page 82 that the name of the new chair of the Audit and Risk Committee is not updated, and confirmed that this is Mr. Rod Poxton. There is also a new independent member on the committee, with Miss Melissa Field replacing Mr. Brian Keane, whose tenure ended on the 29th of November 2024. There is an error that has been noted in the minutes, which will be updated at the next Audit and Risk Committee, as Mr. Brian Keane was noted as present as a member when he was not a member, nor was he present at that meeting. There are 4 attachments for consideration tonight, including the 2024-25 Draft Audit Strategy Memorandum, the Pyrenees Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee Charter for 2025-26, which needs to be updated annually, the 2025-03-25 draft minutes of the Audit Risk Committee meeting of the 25th of March 2025, and the Chair report for March 2025. The officer recommendation is provided on page 86 of tonight's agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. May I have a councillor move a motion on that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Seconded, Councillor Toll. Councillor Ferrari, did you want to speak to that at all? Councillor Toll. Any other councillors? No. I know I can speak on behalf of Councillor Law and myself, who are both on the Audit and Risk Committee too. Rod, it's fantastic to have him in the chair. He's all over it, and very astute in his deliberation of matters. And also Melissa Field, who is born and bred sort of in this area, who's now come back to be able to support her community in that role on the Audit and Risk Committee. So an honour to have her on that committee as well. So on that note, all those in favour, if no one else had any comments, no, all those in favour, and we'll move those updates. We now move to item 12.3.4. I will ask Councillor Wardlaw, please, to leave the room. Excuse us, audience, too, this evening. I think we're all we've got lurgies going around everywhere. We're pushing through though. So this item is in regards to the Terry Floyd Memorial, which is hoping to be erected at Avoca if passed this evening. Thank you, Mr. Shane Walden, again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 28th of June will be the 50th anniversary of the disappearance of Terry Floyd. As there is no place of rest for Terry, nor a formal memorial, it has been requested by members of the community that a formal memorial garden be established in Avoca and unveiled on the anniversary date. March 2019, Terry's brothers and local volunteers set up the Terry Floyd Foundation, focusing on turning this tragedy into a positive by making children's lives better and continuing awareness of his story. Despite the tragic circumstances, Terry lives on as a part of Avoca and its history. The memorial, including a plaque and the planting of a forget-me-not rose, will be established with no direct cost to Council. Council will support the installation with officer time involved in liaising with relevant public authorities and overseeing any construction activities. There is a map provided on page 85 showing the proposed location of the memorial. A number of locations were reviewed and discussed, with the originally proposed location remaining the preferable site. The officer recommendation is provided on page 89 of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. May I have a councillor move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Phelan. Seconded, Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Phelan, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just wanting to acknowledge that, of course, there has been an incredible amount of emotional discussion in response to this issue. This is a really tragic loss of a young boy. I think every parent's brothers, sisters, aunts' worst nightmare So to have some acknowledgement of this loss, but also remember, as has been noted, and celebrate the life of children that we have with us. I'm really pleased that this memorial is at the location that has been requested by the brother of Terry Floyd and those who have been looking to get this erected. And yeah, look forward to having that as a place to remember the life of a young boy who very sadly is not with us any longer. And I know the council has noted that there will be no financial cost to this. Officers have recommended there's no financial cost. I think it would be a very welcome gesture if we could offer some contribution, whether that be installation costs. So I'll leave that for officers to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phelan, and well said too, and remembering such a tragedy, but remembering it in such a positive way moving forward to protect our children. Would you like to speak, Councillor Ferrari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly echo Councillor Phelan's words. I'd just like to say the projects, although small in size, is huge in meaning, and that's really important. And it's great that Terry's being recognised with a memorial and in a fitting spot, which was the last place that he was seen alive. So that's really important. It's really special. I'd like to actually acknowledge the drive and compassion of Councillor Wardlord, who's exited the building at this time, in driving this initiative with the community and to get Terry that recognition. So she's done a fantastic job. And I thank the council for their assistance in all of this. There's been a lot of discussion, and it's a little bit compassion, a fair bit of compassion around it. So the discussions weren't always easy, but I think a great outcome has come through that discussion, and I look forward to seeing and visiting the memorial when it's in place. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Toll, would you like to speak?
I think it's all been said.
Thank you, and it has been well said. The only question I will ask: you're happy with the motion as it stands at the moment, though, both mover and seconder. We can talk about those other issues after. But I would only add to that. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to celebrate something that wasn't good, to turn it into something good, and for those that grieve, what a beautiful way to be able to then celebrate a life that was so precious to them. So now all those in favour, and that's carried. Thank you. Are we now? Oh yeah, sorry. For Councillor Wardlaw, we will let her re-enter the chamber. Thank you, Councillor Wardlaw. We're now up to item 12.3.5, and that is a special unscheduled council meeting. Again, I'll hand to Mr. Walden. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Under the Local Government Act, there are a number of documents that council must endorse by specified dates. The report presented tonight is a procedural one, as in order for council to endorse the release of these documents for consultation, hear from submitters, and then adopt them, council will need to schedule additional meeting dates. This will ensure council meets its community engagement requirements. There are several documents comprising council's integrated planning framework. Most are to be considered during these special council meetings that are being put forward tonight. Not all the documents require adoption by the 30th of June. However, officers are suggesting that these are adopted at the same time as the annual budget and the revenue and rating plan, lost my place, to align with the strategic direction of the 10-year community vision, the community vision, the municipal health and wellbeing plan, the council plan, and the 10-year financial plan. The asset plan will be presented separately. Officers are proposing a special council meeting on the 12th of May 2025 to consider releasing the documents for community consultation. Then to have another special council meeting on the 23rd of June to consider adoption of the documents following that consultation. There is an opportunity to schedule time in the ordinary council meeting on the 16th of June should any community member wish to make an in-person submission to council. The recommendation is provided on page 91 of tonight's agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. And Yeah, gosh, a lot to get done in this short amount of time. But I'll open that up to a councillor to move a motion on that recommendation. Thank you, councillor Phelan. Secondly, councillor Wardlaw. Councillor Phelan, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, as you've noted, there are a lot of very significant plans and documents that will guide us over the term of this council and beyond this council. And we've got a very short amount of time to put these out for community consultation. I do note that it is the 28th of April today, and that is a very large number of documents that we're wanting to get to community consultation on the 13th. So it's April today, yeah, by the 13th of May. So it would be appreciated that we get those documents in as close to possible kind of final form to put to community consultation, because I'm sure I am not alone in wanting to give due consideration to these really critical documents that will guide our work and work of the Shire over the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Phelan. Councillor Wardlaw? No. Councillor Ferrari? Councillor Toll? No. Well, I think we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And lots of work ahead. Everyone's looking very excited. That's great. Now, item number 12.3.6. That's the 2024-25 loan borrowings. And again, Mr. Walden, we're making work this evening. Thank you.
Getting my steps in, I think.
That's
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a procedural report to seek council authorisation to proceed with the planned loan borrowings that are listed in the adopted 2024-25 council budget. The planned loan borrowing is of $1.3 million to recover funds used for strategic land purchases in Avoca and Beaufort and provide council's contribution associated with the workers' accommodation project. The borrowings are essential to ensure long-term cash flow reliability. The loan will be sought through the Treasury Corporation of Victoria, providing lower borrowing costs compared with traditional sources. Community consultation was conducted as part of the budget approval process. Authorising the CEO to enter the loan arrangement will ensure the council stays within the parameters of the 10-year financial strategy. The recommendation is provided on page 93 of tonight's agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. May I throw to a councillor to move a motion on that recommendation? Thank you, councillor Wardlaw. Seconded, councillor Ferrari. Would you like to speak to that, councillor Wardlaw?
No.
Councillor Ferrari. Sorry, again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Walden, for that report. Look, I just want to say, Pyrenees Shire Council don't generally borrow money. We've been pretty good about it. We just get to a stage where, you know, some things stall if we don't, and so you weigh those up. We have really significant discussions before we borrow any money, really in-depth discussions with all the necessary people in the room. And we work through that, and if we make a decision to borrow, then we put a lot of mitigation strategies in place to make sure that any risks are reduced. So it's just really important to note we don't borrow lightly. It's not a massive amount of money, although for Pyrenees Shire it's a little bit, but we just need this money to get us through and keep some projects, major projects moving so they don't stall. And so once we get them finished, we can get some return off them as well. And also we can then use other money we've got put aside for some other projects. So we have put a lot of consideration into this before we've decided that, you know, a decision's made about borrowing. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Ferrari. Any other councillors would like to speak? No, but I would agree with councillor Ferrari, and again, the intention behind that is to promote and develop our township areas there with that providential land purchasing. So yeah, I will now put that to the vote. All those in favour, and that's carried. Thank you. We're nearly there, people. We're up to item 12.3.7, and that is our Emergency Services and Volunteer Fund. This is a sort of a late attachment, but one that we felt was incredibly important to actually add as part of our agenda this evening. So we thank Mr. Shane Walden for speaking to this one.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, the 22nd of April, a community-led meeting initiated by Lake Goldsmith farmer David George was held at the Beaufort Shire Hall to discuss the Victorian Government's Emergency Services and Volunteer Fund, which is proposed to be implemented on not only the Pyrenees Shire residents, but all of Victoria from the middle of 2025. The session was chaired by the Mayor, Councillor Tanya Keogh, and was attended by many people. The Victorian Government intends for the Essential Services and Volunteer Fund to replace the Fire Services Property Levy from the 1st of July, with a significant additional cost to ratepayers and, for us in particular, our farmers. Unfortunately, Martha Haylett, MP for Ripon, was unable to attend, but provided a statement and advocacy letter for provision to the attendees. Approximately 170 community members attended, which is a great number of people attending on a Wednesday night during a short weekend that had public holidays at both ends. So it just shows the level of interest from community. They were joined by several volunteer members of local emergency services and an employee from the 000 Victoria. Other attendees included Pyrenees councillors, Councillor Simon Toll, Councillor Rebecca Wardlaw, Councillor Damien Ferrari and our Mayor. Politicians in attendance included Danny O'Brien, MP, Leader of the Victorian Nationals and the Shadow Minister for Emergency Services, who actually travelled up from Gippsland to show how important he thinks this issue is. Bev McArthur, our MP for Western Victoria, and Joe McCracken, also a member for Western Victoria, were in attendance. Miss Katrina Lee, the member for the Victorian CFA State Council and a local CFA volunteer, was there, along with councillors from neighbouring councils, including Councillor Joe Armstrong, the Mayor of Ararat Rural City Council, and Councillor Robert Armstrong, also from Ararat Rural City Council, and Councillor Samantha McIntosh from Ballarat City Council. Again, showing how important this is, not only for the Pyrenees region, but also across the broader region. The implementation of the Essential Services Volunteer Fund will impact the community with the estimated variable rate increase for key sectors as followed. Residential primary place of residence and non-primary place of residence for the first year is likely to go up by 100% for all of our ratepayers. For our commercial properties, it will also go up 100%. For our industrial properties, it will go up approximately 64%. And for our primary producers, who we've heard tonight are already struggling with drought, with lower productivity, they're going to be stung with 189% increase as part of this levy. This Lake Council report has been prepared as a commitment from that community meeting, and we also note that there is a decision going to be made in the upper house of the Victorian Government in the next 2 weeks. And so we want to make sure that as many people as possible know that this fund is going to be implemented and what the impacts might be for them. The officer recommendation is provided on page 96 of the agenda tonight.
I will just read that recommendation. So it is that council notes the information provided in this report and the continued community opposition to the introduction of the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund in replacement of the existing Emergency Services Property Levy. And number 2, that council approves action to be taken by council in the form of officers to draft a template letter that can be used by residents in opposition to the Emergency Services Volunteers Fund implementation, and that this template be circulated to those attendees who provided their email addresses for this purpose. And also the Mayor to work with fellow GBAC mayors to contact mayors of the other 73 councils who are not members of the Greater Ballarat Alliance, seeking their support in sending letters of opposition similar in format to that previously sent by GBAC members. And that would also include, I think, MAV and any other advocacy, but that will go without saying because we'll work through our local one and then move through to move as quickly as possible. We've just heard it's the 13th of May that this will go through to the upper house. It's been quite a rapid progression from December last year to get to where we are in very busy times, and we are noting that many residents were not even aware of it and may still be not aware of this fund, hence where this item has come to the council very urgently, and also other work's already started. But I won't speak to that again before I open to a councillor to move a motion to that recommendation. Councillor Wardlaw, thank you. Seconded Councillor Toll. Councillor Wardlaw, would you like to speak to it? You were there Wednesday evening too and
Yes, I
noted
was.
the sentiment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, look, to me, this is devastating to rural areas in so many ways. You know, not just the farmers, I realise it's everybody affected, but to think that a farmer that would be once paying, say, $7,000 for rates will be paying almost $30,000 is just, it's nightmare, you know, especially with going through everything they've gone through. So we need to fight this. Everyone is trying their hardest to fight it. It's just whether the upper house is going to listen to us. So we just got to keep going at it, see how we go.
Well said, Councillor Wardlaw. Councillor Toll.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I might upset a few people here. Our member for Ripon, Martha Hylett, sent this letter out. Get that on camera there. Expressing her concern to everyone about how terrible she thought this was. She was so weak that she voted for the motion in council and still will not respond to my email to her to ask her which way she voted. But we know for a fact she voted to support it. We've got a government that's striving for equality and all this carry on, but yet they support their sustainable energy in the public benefit. They're giving the 5.7 cents per $1,000 to the wind farms and the battery storage systems. But if you're a coal-fired power station, you're paying 66.4 cents in the dollar. They're both commercial enterprises. They're both producing energy, so why not make it equal as what the Labor Party carry on about? It's so unequal that they think they can't get support from the rural communities, that they're slugging us, you know, 189% increase. It's unacceptable in the current climate. It's a bit like December in 1854, this 50 kilometres down the road. Now, I'm not suggesting we take up arms like they did in Eureka Stockade, but that was a movement against taxes imposed by the governing authority that were unjust, inequitable, and this is exactly the same thing. We've got to get everyone to support fighting against it and get it moved out of the upper house, but it's just unacceptable. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Toll. And we certainly can hear that passion and for your people that you know, and for all our people, it's going to be incredibly tricky for many people to meet this payment. Councillor Ferrari, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's pretty hard to follow, but look, it's supposedly accepted by government and agencies the struggles faced by farmers, including mental health issues, yet the government is still happy to impose this tax that it in fact affects all the community. So it's really important for the community to understand this doesn't just affect farmers, it affects farmers the most because they're going to be paying 189%, but it affects every householder in the state. So make no mistake, everyone will be paying more to the government, and unfortunately, it looks like the council is going to be the collection agency again, and we do not get a cent of it. We have to collect it, pass it through a hand, and goes to town. So it's really, really important. I can't stress enough. Times is a real factor. We've probably only got a fortnight or so until it goes to the upper house. So we really need everybody, not just the farmers. They are the most affected. 189% increase, which is massive and so unfair, and it's just so biased. And make no mistake, this is simply another tax grab. It's as simple as that, to pay for things that because of their poor spending record. I don't like to politicise things, but sometimes things just have to be said as they are, and that's simply what it is. So it's important everybody make an effort to get hold of somebody, get hold of your local member, send an email, send a letter, talk to people around, because it's going to affect every one of you in some way. Everyone will be out of pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Megan, would you like to speak to that? You think it's been said?
Thank you.
Oh, yes, you may, absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to ask that the government, the state government, make it equal across the board to everyone, and let everyone share the pain rather than just a few certain groups and feeling the bulk of the pain. Then it'd be an easier pill to swallow.
It's a very fair ask, isn't it? It's a very
yes.
simple ask. And it's, oh yes, sorry, yes, councillor Ward.
Just following up on what Simon has just said, I think the figure was that the farming is only 1% of the population. I think that's what was said the other night. So we're going to penalise 1% of the population. You know, it's just ludicrous.
But the Premier said the farmers can afford it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't-
Madam Mayor,
yes, sorry. One more thing.
I neglected to say, but I think it is important, and it's such a topical, obviously it's very topical and it's very emotive because people are affected massively in more ways than one. But what's happening for the benefit of the community is it's now going to be changed to the Emergency Services Volunteers
Yep.
Fund from the Fire Services Levy. And what's happening with that change is the state governments, including more agencies such as 000 and forest fire management, which are already funded through state revenue, so state consolidation. So it's just a simple way. Read it for it yourself, delve into it, but make sure you speak to someone about it and put in your protest about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think as more information we can get out there, the better. And but just to reiterate some of that, Rebecca Wardlaw just spoke about one farmer in our community will move from paying $7,000, which is already enough to swallow, $30,000 to $30,000. That in itself, I think, just says so much. The other thing, the fact that we currently already collect $2.1 million that goes straight to state government that we have to put on our rate notices for you ratepayers to pay, and that many people would not realise that, I think is very sneaky. And the fact that will move to $4.2 million, that's a huge amount that we will have to collect from a ratepayer base of about 7,500 ratepayers. And again, more than about half or more than half will be farmers bearing that brunt. We're saying that farmers are 1% across Victoria, but we're nearly 100% providing the food and fibre that metropolitan people will need to live and to live well. So I think we need to be singing that very loudly from the hymn books. And as Councillor Ferrari referred to, these extra services that are supposedly being covered, they have already been previously covered by consolidated revenue. When we're really just flabbergasted to why there's this grab for money, if that's not really being explained why or where, when it should be covered in another area. We're just trying to look for fairness in this. And so the final one that I think people are not aware of is the fact that part of this going through Parliament is that there's a part of it that no one will be able to appeal to the Supreme Court. That I think speaks volumes in, is this the right thing to do? Because if you're stopping anyone being able to appeal it, that would ring alarm bells for me. But finally, that is why the recommendation tonight, again to reiterate, is that we hope to provide a letter to make it easy for residents to be able to contact ministers to really hear our plight. You don't even need to draft the letter. We will have that drafted for you and have it available. So please email the Shire to be able to get a copy of that. There's also a community Facebook page that's already been started up. That's a seed project from Wednesday night's meeting. For want of a better way of being able to contact people, I think again contact council, or if you can email myself direct. My details are on the website, but it is mountemu@pyrenees.vic.gov.au, so that I can put you in contact with those community people, because there are community people proposing action within the next couple of weeks to be able to say to Parliament, we just cannot bear this burden, and please listen with very heartfelt sentiment there as well. Councillor Woodlaw.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I just thought with what you said, is there some way we can make this letter available on the website as a downloadable form?
Is that all right?
Please,
Thank you.
somehow. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm glad you jumped into that one. That will also be available, so we'll try to get that out there. Can I urge people to, if you don't sign up already to our Pyrenees Shire Facebook, it is a great point where we're able to put a lot of information where you can DM to be able to get some more information. So please, if you don't already, if you're on Facebook or on social media, if you can connect with us that way. That's one way we can get information out quite rapidly to lots of people. But now, in light of that, thank you for all that discussion and the importance of honing in on that issue. And we thank you, officers, providing that report at very short notice. But we do have that recommendation to put forward as a motion. May I have it? And we've already done that, sorry. We've already had a, so we'll vote on that now. All those in favour? Thank you very, very much, all of you. We now move on to councillor reports and general business, and I'm going to look around for a victim that's happy to go first. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. Councillor Ward.
Got it ready.
Well done. You are ready. Thank you. I'll pick on you first, and I might go that way around the room just to prepare everyone. That's all right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a busy time for all of us with strategic planning and budgets and all sorts, but out and about, we were lucky enough to, a few of us, go to Unearthed in Avoca. It was just actually wonderful. I would not normally go to something like that, and I actually came away saying next year I'm going to invite my sister, because it really was just, it was just a wonderful afternoon. There were kids playing, and yeah, it was fantastic. I've also in the time met up with Anne Webster in Avoca, Dr. Anne Webster, because she announced, providing she gets in, that there'll be a $250,000 input from them for the Avoca streetscape. And, you know, there's sort of been discussions around that for one reason. We've got an intersection that's not very safe, that they also want to do a little bit of decorating because it's the feature of our town. So I'm hoping that if that all comes through, perhaps we can look towards making that area safer. Then after that was the meeting at the Beaufort for the levy, which was so well attended, and I commend everyone that went. It was very well run, and you know, there was no nastiness. It was just people were very well spoken. The people in the audience knew what they were talking about. The people at the front knew what they were talking about. So it was very informative, and I got a lot out of that. And hopefully everyone puts the letter in and we bombard them as much as we can. Then today I managed to meet with Martha Haylett, and I raised a few issues of importance for our area, including the power supply at our football ground that is inadequate, along with the future plans of the flood mitigation. We did discuss the new fund that we've just been talking about. She assures me she's written some letters, so we shall see where we go with that. But she, you know, she does understand. She, you know, I understand what Mr. Toll said, but I think she's probably realising that it probably wasn't the best thing that she's ever done. So on from that, we discussed the police and the lack of support when they're needed in rural areas, and hopefully we've got her talking to the right people to help us out there, because there's a lot of crime, not just in our town, but around the district, thefts and things like that. And we just don't have anyone available to come when they're needed. So we really need to work on that. And then basically football season started. So that's great. Community spirit, everyone's out there having a go at that. And I just want to say, after Trevor spoke tonight, that I also agree about the Anzac Day events not being advertised well enough, because the night before I was answering messages on social media for hours about what time they were. And so people didn't get the message. So it'd be so great to see that followed up for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wardlaw. Councillor Phelan.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was very fortunate to attend Pyrenees as well, along with two fellow councillors. Such a great event, and huge crowd, excellent wines, of course, but also some other fabulous talent. For example, wonderful potter from Lexton selling her wares, and I did my best to support community members through purchasing. But yeah, really great event. I also was very fortunate to be able to hand out awards for the Moonabel photographic art competition, and again was just blown away by the amount of talent and the number of entrants. I believe one actually came from Canada. That person didn't win. It was a local or some locals who won. So yeah, really great event. I attended and led the wreath at an Anzac event in Landsborough, and again was just overwhelmed by the turnout from Landsborough residents, but also people from Barkly and other small neighbouring townships. A really beautiful event to remember Anzac soldiers and all of those who were impacted by the loss of people who fought in the war. And as a follow-up to that, I'm sure we've heard in a number of council meetings about the lovely Landsborough Resource Centre that was open and put on a great breakfast after the event. So great to see that really playing a role supporting the community. I also met with a local member, Martha Haylett, today, and did raise some of the big issues which have been discussed here in council: connectivity, water, and really needing strong advocacy and support from state government on expediting reviews of overlays, some which no longer fit for purpose, particularly small townships where they can't build houses in close to, main streets. So really wanted to put some of those issues on how Martha Haylett's radar, which of course I think she's already really aware of, but I did commit to compiling a list with some really concrete examples in those areas. So we'll do that and hopefully we get some action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phelan. Councillor Ferrari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All the usual briefings and strategic council meetings along with the other councillors. Virtually attended the Western Highway Action Committee, which is really good, and it's pretty informative actually. And they do tend to get a bit of, I'll use the shit on that with Mr. Gowns, and they do tend to get some results, so which is good. So we keep chipping away and trying to get something done. So rest assured, if it's something on the highway we know about it, we certainly voice our opinion. It goes on the minutes. So involved in budget discussions, meeting with some constituents, a range of things, planning matters. Had some discussions with the Beaufort men shed, and they're really exciting about the prospect of them getting a new facility not too far in the future. Had some discussions with Beaufort Friends of the Pool. They're a really great group. They're really positive and they do a lot of work, and they're magnificent advocates for the pool, and they do a great job. Attended the Anzac Day event here in Beaufort and laid a wreath. It was just fantastic, and congratulations go out to the RSL for the way they manage it, and also to the Beaufort CWA. I don't know if anyone attended, but you did, Madam Mayor, but the Beaufort CWA engaged in a project prior to Anzac Day where they had themselves and other people make poppies on sticks, and there was 3,000 of them put in the gardens, and it was just amazing. It was just so, it was amazing. That's all I can say. It was absolutely amazing to see it, and I've got a lot of photos of it that I'm happy to share, but it was just amazing. So enormous effort by doing that with CWA and the people that assisted. Thank you to the staff, to the council staff, for the park was presented really beautifully as usual, and that was commented on the day by the president of the RSL, and for this assistance provided with other stuff, that makes that day happen. So as Trevor said, perhaps we need a little bit more advertisement, but I don't want to put a negative into there because it was a fantastic day and there was a really, really good attendance, and there was a lot of young people there, which is really pleasing. So they're our future, of course, so that's really, really pleasing. The only other thing is I'd like to very briefly mention is that Beaufort Football Club had a win on the weekend. Who did they play again? I can't remember who they played, but anyway, they had a win.
Sorry,
and I think Carlton in the AFL had a win as well. I just can't remember who they played. Head of the minors, so things are on the up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Tuck.
Thank you,
Right,
Councillor Ferrari. Yes, Warburg got beaten by the umpires, and I think both have turned up to play a small part in that win, but I think the umpires got it across the line for you. And Carlton were just simply better on the day against the out-of-form Cats, but you did lose a few. Anyway, to be perfectly honest, I haven't had a chance to do a lot over this last month with family weddings and other weddings at home and trips to Tasmania with rowing and whatever. So unfortunately, I'm one person that would really love to get involved in the unearthed at Avoca, and I'll definitely be there with bells on. Councillor Ferrari might join me. He did have a little tour the other day and bought some old stalwarts and Beaufort to home on Easter Tuesday, was it? Yes. So we fed and watered them and they left happily. So we've had all our normal council briefings and whatever. What else has happened? Had various meetings with constituents around the ward, and they're all getting some positive feedback from them. They're starting to see a few things happen, and one was the netball courts getting done at Warburg out of the blue, which is terrific. They were in desperate need of it. I did happen to go to, it's out of our shire, but the Riola show on the Easter Monday, which everyone should get a chance to go to. It is fantastic. Anzac Day, Chan, thank you for your efforts in singing out and getting a wreath organised. I took it and presented it at Lexton, and they've had a little thing. They've only been going for 10 years, and they started out with one person standing by the flagpole 10 years ago. And
Wow.
I think there were 50 or 60 there, and they really haven't got much to offer. So hopefully we can encourage and build their facility there to get that going. But they also mentioned that they want to do something like Landsborough, where they tell local histories about who served and get the kids involved in that, and which I think is just be very moving if you're there to hear what was going on. But anyway, the football we've discussed, and I look forward to getting a bit more active in the next month or so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can I
Yes.
say one more
Oh,
thing?
yes, you
Because
may.
I just forgot.
Yes.
Thank you. I also attended the Anzac Day and Later Week. Thank you very much, Shan. I was blown away. I went to the dawn service and then we had another one at 9:30. And the dawn service, there was 200 people there. It was incredible. And as Sarah Greenwood played the bugle, you're just standing there, and because it was a little bit of a steamy morning, there was this sort of fog lifting in the street lights, and it was so eerie in a good way. It was just incredible. I honestly felt so emotional at that time. Then at the 9:30 one, we were lucky enough, we had Highview school students that live in Avoca, MEC school students that live in Avoca, the the primary school, they all laid wreaths and lined up and sang Advanced Australia Fair and Waltzing Matilda. And on my last note with this, there is a shop front in Avoca that I advise everyone go and have a look at. I've got photos of it. Mr. Grant Richardson does it, and he's always changing his window front, but this was the Anzac one. And the memorabilia he has in that window, he has this sort of scarf that he's made, and people from around Victoria supplied the poppies. They crocheted them. There's 1,385 poppies on this. Yeah, so when you were saying, I was like, yeah, it should be noted. It was so well done.
That is well done, gosh. Gosh, fantastic. I've had a very busy time with a lot of events happening over the last month. I think one very significant one was the opening of the Beaufort CFA new station. So that was attended by, it was actually on the day the election was announced. So we had a lot of pollies there as well. It really put us on the map, and TV crew, etc. What is significant about that day is that now our team there, our crew, now have an adequate space to be able to hold meetings, hold training, hold the new vehicles that they're able to use to respond to the many incidents that we have, being situated where we are in Beaufort, and that is having the highway there, and having our township community, but also our farming community. So Beaufort, along with the many other amazing CFAs that we have in this region, continue to support and protect our people, and now they have a fantastic premises in which to do that. I then also, I will just quickly firstly touch on the Emergency Services Fund evening, the town hall meeting. It was just overwhelming, the attendance from all over the place, and it was from within and also around the Shire, because people know how incredibly important this is. Those that don't need to know, and I think that's where the concern and the urgency and just the absolute want for politicians to hear, and the plea from the farmers particularly, but all our residents, that they are heard. I won't repeat what we've already spoken about, but one thing I did forget to say, a quick way you can jump on to voice your concern. The Nationals are running a petition called scrapthetax.com.au. So if you jump on scrapthetax.com.au, that's a very quick way you can already jump on to try to prevent us having to bear that burden. I did also, and sorry, I would like to shout out to Mr. David George, who put in all that effort for that Wednesday night too. Incredible effort. That evening, he had also a personal circumstance, and we think of his family in that at that time. Not sure what's happening there, but we do thank him for selflessly being there. Moving on to the lighter note, Pyrenees Unearthed Wine and Food event. I've been numerous times now, and again, it is an amazing event from young to old. There was pottery for the children, there was face painting, there was right through to some of the most magnificent wines that are produced anywhere in the world, and we have them on our doorstep. And so again, sing it loud and clear, bring a friend next year, and I know all us councillors will be able to get to the next one. Just incredible, and such an enjoyable day spent with fellow councillors. Also did meet with Anne Webster, and I think it's really important we're meeting with all politicians that are asking for us to be able to deal with and to hear their commitment to us. So we're thankful for that, and other politicians also. But Anne she's incredibly committed to the northern part of our region, and it was fantastic for her to make that announcement so early and to get to see us in person. I also attended Anzac Day. My Anzac Day was quite an event, and it went across a few days also. But I started at Snake Valley at the 5:30 dawn service, which was not an official one this year. The RSL is looking for new members, but an individual, Craig Parkinson, actually took it upon himself to radio in the Melbourne service, and it was so well attended at very short notice. It just shows how important and how significant Anzac Day is for every single one of us to never forget, young and old, and Snake Valley community certainly turned out to support that, and I was just so humbled and so proud. I then attended the Beaufort service, and my Jack was there to lay a wreath as well. It was just beautiful, the school children that were part of that, right through to the RSL, who again, Don Carnes just leads such a beautiful service and such a moving service, and the band played, and gosh, just everyone that's part of it, incredible. And the poppies, again, I second Councillor Ferrari, what an incredible testament, and what a beautiful active display for young and old to appreciate. Like, I had to keep little kids out from trying to grab them, but they noticed, and it was a beautiful memory for them as well. At 3 o'clock, I then attended the Stockyard Hill commemorative event, and we were all standing in absolute pouring rain, but none of us, not one person there, cared, because we were so grateful for the rain. But even that was moving in itself, to be able to recognise all those diggers from that area. So incredible. After that, once I had to change my whole entire outfit because I was so wet, drenched. There was an entertaining event at the Lake Goldsmith Hall, again put together by Helen Kirkpatrick and Deb Bain and their team. These two women are incredible, and their team behind them. There was Two Up, there was Hooky, there was all these games for the kids. They were even making planes in recognition of the World War I planes, and the older ones were having drinks and nibbles, and a community coming together that were brought together by, again, such a commemorative event. So such a fun event, and lovely barbecue that was provided for by Beaufort Butchery here, and also Magnolia's provided the salads. It was just an all-in community event, incredibly fun and entertaining if you can get there. My Anzac Day continued to this morning, where I was able to attend the Beaufort Secondary College one, talk about stories from people that the students recited, but the students, it was basically led by the students, and they did an absolutely sterling job. We need to be so proud, and I know Mr. Kirsten is the past principal of the school. We must be so proud of such an incredible school and what it represents. And every single student, you could have heard a pin drop the whole entire ceremony. I think that's absolute credit to the school and its teachers. So that was an honour today. We do have the Lake Gosnell Steam Rally coming up this weekend. So you've probably seen the advertisements on TV, but it really is an incredible place to go and see. And I'm a bit biased. My grandfather was part of starting that, but it's really such a fun event, again, for young and old. Combined with that, this weekend too, on the Saturday, Snake Valley are actually holding, and a number of buildings in Snake Valley are holding a heritage weekend. So the election will be happening at the same time, but there will be historical buildings open, churches open for people to be able to visit and learn a bit more about the history of those. So if you can get down to Snake Valley on Saturday, there's also an organ event happening in the beautiful Carnham Uniting Church. So bookings, I think, for that do need to be made online, but check out the Snake Valley Network Facebook page or the Uniting Church Facebook page for that. Finally, I was on the footy canteen on Saturday, so I got to feed both sides, but it was a fantastic day, just a great day overall, and it was lovely to see members from across our shire come together in such a great way. We know how important our footy is for our communities, and we thank everyone that volunteers to make those things happen. Finally, can I just reiterate again, Pyrenees Shire Facebook page. If you aren't already, you're on social media, but you're not already a member of that Facebook page, please ask to be on that so that we can keep you notified of events that are coming up, and also things like Anzac Day. But of course, we will also put that on the web page. That was a brilliant suggestion from Mr. Davies tonight. And that is all from me. Thank you. And on that note, we will move to close the meeting to our members of the public. Would you like to speak quickly before we do that? Yes, certainly.
Can I just mention that the Rotary Club did run its annual Easter take a break on a highway.
Oh, yes.
And it was very well supported, as always. Thank you to Douglas Gowans and his hard-working team for helping us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirsten, because again, that just shows the amount of work that Rotary do put in to protect our community and our visitors as well. That's an incredible event that happens. So thank you for mentioning that again.
They also ran one at the Lions Club ran one at Warborough in the wind farm viewing area. Which was great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. My gosh, thank you again to all those involved. I will now ask a councillor to move a motion to move into closed council. Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Seconded, Councillor Phelan. All those in favour? And thank you. And I will ask our fantastic gallery to leave. But thank you very much for your attendance tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
correct.
What about that?
So on that, I'm chairing just for the